Hello friends, I am Dr. KULDEEP MOHADIKAR. In this video, I will present the chapters from the history of English literature. So in this chapter, the first chapter, I will present the social, religious, political, cultural aspects of the Middle Ages and the prominent aspects of the life of the Middle Ages which reflect the literature of Chaucer's time. So friends, 14th century is the most important epoch in the intellectual history of Europe. It is the point of contact between the two widely differing eras in social, religious, political and cultural annals of English race. It is the period preceding the Renaissance and the Reformation. It is remarkable that all the important literary works of second half of the 14th century were produced in the unhappy years between 1360 to 1400, when the conquest made in France had already been lost. It was during this period that England was harassed by a number of political, social and religious movements. So friends, what were these movements? The 100 Years' War, the Black Death, the Peasants' Revolt, the Lollards movement are intimately connected with the literature of the time. Therefore, the study of the literature of the period must be preceded by the study of these movements. During the age of Chaucer, England passed through the first stages of her long journey out of medievalism and came to the foothills of modern worlds. In this respect, R.D. French has said, I quote, "It was an age of restlessness and ferment, a new life that Chaucer lived and wrote. Old things and new things appear side by side upon his pages and in his poetry. We can study the essential spirit of both the ages, one that was passing and one that was to come." So what are the features of this period, friends? So we can see one by one. That first is 100 Years' War. During the years between 1337 to 1453, there went on a series of conflicts between England and France, which was collectively known as 100 Years' War. Some of the most notable victories in England's history were won in the war. England's chief gain was the knitting together of Norman and Saxon elements in the population and in the growth of an English national feelings. The re-establishment of English language replacing French was one of the chief results of these feelings. Another advantage of this war was recognition of common people's power and the growth of democratic spirit. The 100 Years' War stirred England to fight France unitedly. Then we come towards Black Death. Another important event of Chaucer's England was the horror of Black Death, that is plague. The whole economic and social system of England was paralyzed. In England, Black Death took the toll of half the population. In great economic and social changes resulted from the pestilence, that is plague. As there was scarcity of labor, wages doubled. The condition of wages were doubled and the condition of the working class was improved. Laborers realized their favorable positions and compelled lord owners to pay them more. But the parliament and the king enacted a bill in the parliament. Therefore, the laborers have to accept the wages fixed by the parliament. This resulted in the unrest among the peasants. The Black Death already have weakened the power of the feudal system. So, and again the peasants' revolt was almost a direct result of this Black Death. The laborers were dissatisfied and because of economic stringency. They were also annoyed with the corruption of clergy in the church. The peasant revolted against the ruling class and at last in 1380 marched to London with a view to get their grievances regarding taxation and redressed matters. The mob seized the towers of London, murdered the Archbishop of Canterbury and others for 3 days, and there was reign of terror. The king gave them promise but did nothing for them. The peasants' revolt indicated the common people's growing dissatisfaction with social and industrial tyranny. Then it is also, we can say, Lollard movement. We will move towards Lollard movement. It is also the movement of the people who were the followers of Wycliffe. They taught what they believed to be true Christianity. They were against the papal vice regency of Christ. Uh, only those teachings of the church that found sanction in the Bible were accepted. The Lollards were bitterly persecuted by both church and the states. Wycliffe's translation of the scriptures was proscribed, means that was banned. His followers were imprisoned or even burned to death. At last, the movement met with success in the Reformation. Langland's The Pious the Plowman is a movement of Lollard. Here, Langland has exposed the corruption and vice in the church and set on record the struggles and virtues of common people. Then we come towards the English church and feudalism. Feudalism gradually lost its vitality and became limited. The rise of the middle class and victories of English in France caused the weakening of feudalism. At the same time, the church authorities, who were more interested in material comforts, bodily pleasures, than in spiritual pursuits, were totally exposed. Thus, we find in Chaucer's as well as in literature, contemporary literature, all these things reflected. In this connection, Long has observed, I quote, the literary movements of the age clearly reflect the stirring life of the time. There is Langland voicing the social discontent and preaching of equality of men and dignity of labor. Wycliffe, greatest of English religious reformer, giving gospel to the people in their own language. John Gower, the scholar and the literary man, criticizing the vigorous life and plainly afraid of its consequences and preaching of morality. John Gower, in his prologue of Confessio Amantis, pictures the condition of church and common people. The poem Vox Clementissa deal with the evils of entire society. There was Mandeville, the traveler, a businessman, romancing about the wonders to be seen abroad, and above all, there was Chaucer, who reflects everything in his literature as no other writer has reflected in the literature, but Shakespeare has done since Chaucer. Hence, Chaucer's prologue to Canterbury Tales is fairly authentic. So this was all from my side from in this first chapter from the history of English literature, which relates to the social, religious, political, cultural aspect of Middle Ages, and even how the life of Middle Ages reflected in the literature of Chaucer's time. So thanks friends, I hope that you will like this video and your suggestions. I await for your suggestions that how you like this video on the chapters from the history of English literature. Thanks friends.